Welcome to the Wyrd Way. This is the first, but not the first recorded episode here. And so if you're listening, I just wanted to welcome you to the Wyrd Way. This is a podcast where we are tuning in to the path it takes to be who we are and allow all of ourselves into this world. And one of my intentions here on this show, on this podcast, is to really invite in conversation that shows what it means to be who we are and how that path initiates us and what it takes to maybe step outside of the box. Because I know from my own journey, it's been something where to get where I am today, to be here recording this episode, I've had to go against the grain at times. I've had to step into the unknown so many times. I've tried things that I didn't even know existed. And when I look at who I am, I recognize that, hey, a lot of that's weird. It's outside the norm of society and what we've been conditioned and taught to be in this world. And part of this is to show that you don't have to be who you think you have to be. You can actually be who you truly are. And that's been one of the biggest lessons of my life, is that the more I embrace myself, the more I allow who I am out into this world, the more I'm met by it, the more I have conversations that excite my soul, the more people come into my life that really feel me and meet me in a way that I hadn't before. And this is one of the things. Most people, they come into this world and they get conditioned and they get taught to live a certain way and stay within that. And there's always limitation here because there's rules, there's restrictions, there's ways they're meant to be in this world. And really, we're so much more than the set of rules that we live by until we begin to change. And so a lot of this is going into the journey of different people that I connect with, that I find interesting, that have had their own journey to really own who they are in this world. And a lot of the people that I know, whether they're in the entrepreneurial space, the spiritual space, whatever you want to call it, or just living their own unique life, they've had moments in their life which ask them, you can choose yourself. You can choose yourself, or you can go back into your box and you can go back to the mundane. You can go back to a life that isn't for you, but you're never going to be satisfied with that. So the people that are coming on, they're generally people who've been willing to explore. They've been willing to make mistakes, get it wrong. They've been willing to be curious about this life. And when I approach this life, curiosity is one of the attributes and the qualities that I want to approach it with, because I know when I'm curious, it means I don't really know what's happening. I don't know if what I believe is true. And there can be a lot of dogma. There can be a lot of beliefs around what it means to be in this world and how you've got to be spiritual like this, you've got to be religious like this, you've got to do business like that. And in a way, I'm here to challenge the status quo and learn from people who've done it what it takes to create a life of alignment, create a life that's in alignment with our own soul, our own destiny, our own unique path. Because I'm sure when you listen, you'll get the sense that a lot of these people, they're not your everyday person, but because of that, because they've been willing to be shunned, be ridiculed, be judged, and get outside of the box that most people find themselves in, because they've been willing to do that, they've been able to create something more. And this, for me, it's an important point. This, for me, is why I do this, and why I do this work. Because up until this point, up until I became on this path, I was living a life that was so disconnected from myself. I went down the normal path. I got good grades. I went to uni. I got good grades there. I played the nice guy, the good boy. And that ended me in a point where I was depressed. I was anxious. I was cutting myself. I didn't want to be alive anymore. And I didn't know there was more possible. I didn't know there was other choices that we could make in this life and choose to live in a different way. And I felt quite trapped in that. I was like, this is all life is. And I didn't want this to be the only thing that life was, but I didn't know that there was other choices. I tried therapy, I tried all this, but it didn't give me what I wanted, which was an expansion of possibility. Because when I reflect on that time, I can see that the pain was my own soul crying out to me to be like, this is not for you. This life, the one you're living right now, it's causing you pain because you're disconnected from who you truly are. And I didn't know that at the time. I didn't even know I was in pain for a long time. I just thought I was depressed and anxious for no goddamn good reason. But I was hurting. I was hurting because I was living out of alignment with my soul. Because I thought I had to be someone to get the love I wanted in this world. I thought I had to play by their rules. I had to get the good grades. I had to do the things that would make me an upstanding citizen in this world. And there was a point where I had to say no to that, where I had to choose something else, where it challenged everything of my beliefs to do this. I had to say, no, I'm not going to walk this path any further. I've walked it enough, and I'm no longer going to put myself in this pain because I believe there's something more. I have faith that there's something more, and I know that if I continue to walk down that path, it will end with me in a grave. And I said no. And that's what it had to be, because I got to that point where I got two choices in my life. I got two choices from this point. It was either you can die here, you can say no more to life, or you can believe that there's something more possible. And that's what I did. I said that I could believe that something more is possible here, and I was willing to do what it takes to learn how to live and find what more is possible. And that took me on my journey of healing, of development, of changing who I was on the inside, or I guess peeling back the layers of who I thought I was and revealing more of who I am. And I share this story, my story, not to impress, and what Preston Smiles says, but to impress upon you the possibility. Because I didn't know I'd be here having this conversation all them years ago, where I was in my room smoking another bong, trying to escape my pain, where I had a knife against my skin and I was trying to escape. I didn't know that I could end up here, where I'd be able to speak my mind so openly and share my story, share my pain, and have conversation with others that have walked this path and know that more is possible. And that's what I want this podcast to be about, a message of hope and possibility that goes beyond the normal, to really embrace the weird, to embrace what's possible. And if you're not familiar, the etymology of the word weird and how I'm spelling it is W-Y-R-D, comes from the Nordic word weird, and that means to control one's destiny. So the Nords had a belief around weird, and it was the fates. So there was three Moiras, the three weird sisters, and they would weave the fates of time, of the individual souls and the soul of the world that would come into this plane and into this world. And they would weave the destiny of each of us. And my belief is that the modern world has disconnected us from that original fate, that original thread that we were here to follow. And my story, the one I just shared, is about me coming back to my own unique fate, my own destiny. And you may be someone who doesn't believe in that, but you may believe that you've been conditioned by society. If you look around, everything that has occurred, the school system, the way society is set up, it has conditioned us to be a certain way and ensure that we live a certain way and play by a set of rules that we didn't choose. And until we take our conscious choice and choose how do we want to live, we're going to live according to someone else's rules. And that doesn't cut it for me, and I don't want other people to feel trapped in that box, because there is more possible. And that's what we get to explore here on the Wyrd Way. We get to come together, we get to share story of what is possible, and also what does it take? Because there was times on my path where I kind of wished I could stop. I could turn around and say no more, that I'm done, that no, I no longer want to walk this path and just go back into the darkness where I didn't know about all this, where I didn't know I had a conscious choice to change my life. Because it is hard. It does take everything from us. And that can be something we forget, is what it takes. Because I've sacrificed a lot. I've said goodbye to relationships, friendships, to loved ones, and there's been a lot of heartbreak in that. There's been a lot of, I don't know what happens next. There's been moments where I didn't know what was on the other side of a portal I stepped into, or an experience where I didn't know what home I'd come back to. And there's many, many stories like that, which I'm sure I'll share over this, but it's to acknowledge that this path isn't always easy. But for those of us that know we are on it, we know there's no other way. And if we want to live fully, if we want to be here in this world and we want to experience all it has to offer, we have to live true to ourselves. We have to be who we are. And we know that's what's been asked to. And any denial of that, any denial of our own truth is going to cause us pain. And for many of us, that won't simply do. So the invitation of this podcast is to question your reality, to expand your consciousness, to ask, what is your weird way? What's calling you? What is your fate? Why are you here, alive in this world? What do you have to offer? What would make your life mean something to yourself? And this is going to be the continued invitation to come back to what it means for you. Because I want you to be living your own life. I don't want you to be living mine. I know the world needs more people living true to themselves. I see this world as each of us came here for a purpose. We all have a place where we belong in this world, a unique place in the niche, in the ecology of the world, where when we're living in alignment, we find our home there, and we find that we're provided for. We find that our desires are being met. We find the abundance that we truly want in this world. And so when each of us, and I mean each of us, begin to live in that way, we create a harmony within this world. And we create a system where each of us know that we have a home, that we have a place, that we belong, and begin to weave a greater story than the one we know, because we live in an age where the scientific world has taken away all greater meaning, and no longer there's a belief in something more, and I say that is wrong. I don't believe that. I believe we have a greater story to play. I believe humans have a role here to play, and we just need to remember why we came, remember who we are and why we walk this path. Remember why we are who we are. And so I hope, I pray, I have faith that this message finds the people that it needs to find, and it brings them together. That this message gets sent out into the world for the people to hear and remember that each of us have a place, each of us have a purpose, and each of us came here for a reason. And that when we embrace our weird self, when we embrace our fate and who we are in this world, we get to live that life. We get to be true to ourselves. We get to have the relationships we desire. We get to have the money we desire. We get to live a life that feels good for us, because we know it's possible. And this is dreaming in the new world, dreaming in a world where we remember what it means to be alive, not stuck in a system that would disconnect us from ourselves, but we get to create a new one that brings more life into this world. So I pray here with these words, I pray here with this message, and I have faith that this is possible. So let this podcast be my prayer out into the world that more is possible, that those of us who found our weird way, we get to be the transmission, that more is possible. And I hope and I pray that you find your own way, and I pray that these words help you find that way. because I know there's a way for you. Because there was a way for me when all else felt lost, when I didn't know, when I was so stuck in the dark that was all I could see. And I found the light, and I found more, and I continue to find more. And so I share this message with that intention. May you find what you're looking for. May you find the life that is meant for you. And may you learn along the way. May you expand. May you bring your light to others that need. May you be all you are. And may you continue to shine, my friend. So welcome to the Wyrd Way. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to share this energy with you, to share these words. Please share this message if you resonate with this. This is going to be something that I'm deeply excited to be sharing, to be creating. And I know this is a co-creation for all those out there living this life the best way they know how, living true to themselves. Comment, share on your stories, share on your pages what you gain, what you receive. And please, if you have time, rate this. It really helps, and let me know what you think. So much love. Welcome to the Wyrd Way.